So just a few months ago, I made a video called 7 Ways to Get Better at Smash, and it took off really well, which is awesome, because I still have more to say about the game. One of the more difficult things I've run into when making videos is naming them. I mean, if you see a video with the word review in the title, then you don't really get all that much information about what the video's about. A review on YouTube could be anywhere from here to all the way over here. What I'm getting at is that maybe 7 Ways to Get Better at Smash was a bit of a misleading title. The video does have 7 tips, and they will help you get better at Smash, so I guess it makes sense, but all the tips pertain to mechanics of the game. This means that you'll better understand the game when you watch it, and through your ability, your gaming will improve. Understanding the game's mechanics is one thing, but refining your skills is another, which is why I'm making this video. While the last video was about 7 mechanics to help you better understand the game, this one is 7 stratagems to keep in mind that will help you improve your skills no matter what level of play you're gaming at. Number 7. Learn the nuances of each stage. Every stage is different, even on Omega mode. All of them have different underbellies, different ledges, different drop-offs, and some of them have grass. Yes, that is an issue. You can use these nuances to your advantage. Think about your main and how that character recovers. You can come in from the side and grab the ledge. You can use up some jumps to try to go up and over. Sometimes you can counter through some edge guarding and get him with that. And don't forget about that wall jump. Of course, some stages make it harder to recover with some characters, but you should be thinking about all your recovery options on this screen and not when you're right here. Let's do a quick rundown of a few notable factors about the Omega stages. All of them are flat, and despite what the camera would have you believe, they are all actually about the same size. The biggest factor when it comes to recoverability is the bottom of the stage. Stages with pronounced bottoms like Final Destination and Omega Rainbow Road favor characters with many jumps because they can go all the way to the other side of the stage to avoid their opponent, while stages like the Boxing Ring and the Garden of Hope would favor a character with wall jumps due to the shape of the cliff. Except that the walls on Pac-Land and the Pokemon League don't actually give you a wall jump. Weird. Another important thing to note is ledges. The way they are shaped in stages like the Halberd and Mario Circuit will help a player's up special get to the ledge, while on Lilac Cruise, players will need to be more accurate. This makes this stage a really good counter pick, by the way, just in case that ever comes up. I know you're probably still scratching your head over what I meant when I mentioned the importance of grass earlier, so this is the part where I explain that. You can find grass on stages like Mushroom Kingdom U, Mario Galaxy, Yoshi's Island, Great Cave Offensive, and Windy Hill Zone. It does one minor thing, and it will screw over a few characters pretty badly. It halves the distance that your character slides, so dashing into an up smash is significantly more difficult on these stages. Woolly World's grass is made of wool though, so it doesn't count on that stage. Number 6. Blocking and punishing. So obviously blocking is really important. It saves you from taking damage, it saves you from getting launched, and it puts you at a frame advantage. This means that since the other character will still be recovering from their last attack, you'll be able to put in the next input first, and you will be more likely to get the hit. Many characters depend on this to get kills. One of Fox's most powerful moves is running up to the opponent, shielding, and then punishing with his up smash. Since attacks in this game have a lot of recovery to begin with, and since shields heal so fast, you should definitely try to block more often because you're more likely to get a hit. The important takeaway here isn't so much that you should block, it's that you should know what you're going to do once you block. That way you can switch the flow of battle. Block into up smash, block into grab, block into KO uppercut, just figure out what works for your character. Number 5. Learn your edge game. How many times have you tried to ledge hog in Smash 4? Be honest, it's hard to forget about that stuff. Well, now you gotta work a bit harder for your kills. If you notice that you win most of your matches by landing a smash attack, then you might be doing something wrong. It'll save you a lot of effort if you just learn some ledge game. Every character has something. Remember when we were talking about recovery earlier? Well, now you have to picture the same thing in your head and figure out how to stop each kind of recovery. You might use a meteor smash, a projectile, a good F-air, or even a footstool. Just see what you can do. Again, every character has something. Captain Falcon has his dare and his knee to hit opponents in the air, but if an opponent's coming from directly below the stage, his up tilt's also a very strong tool. Not to mention the Falcon Punch that can actually catch a few characters who try to recover with powerful horizontal moves. Jigglypuff obviously has the air power to stop opponents from recovering, but if you notice that your opponent keeps rolling up from the edge, then you can use your down special, which is much easier to hit in this game. Just make sure that the attack will cause a screen splat, or you're gonna get punished. Even Little Mac has stuff. Sure, he can't jump, but that doesn't mean you can't give a recovering opponent some trouble. What I usually do after knocking an opponent off stage is I run up to the edge and crouch. I do this because being so close to a pit as Smash is risky, and crouching actually negates a good amount of knockback. The goal here is to make it as difficult as possible for the opponent to grab the ledge, so they'll have to try to go over you. By using the detail, you can pop opponents up in front of you, which at certain percentages allows for some combos, even into the star uppercut. If your opponent is at a high percentage, you might even try to go for a kill here with your down smash. After this, the opponent will be hesitant to grab the ledge, and might try to go onto the stage proper. You can use this opportunity to do your up special, which serves as one of Mac's best killing moves. If they do manage to get past that range though, you can use their landing lag to set up a sliding up smash. Your edge game should be all about pressure. Be resourceful with your character's moves, and look for some stratagems to keep your opponent airborne and on the defensive. Number 4. Max out your damage. Every time you get a hit, you should already be thinking about what happens next. If you get in a grab, you should know what to do afterwards. Some people like to set up a mind game where they may trick the opponent into throwing out an aerial only to punish the landing lag with another grab. Others may just pummel until the opponent breaks out, and then follow that with a quick grab combo. The first thing you should look for is a true combo. This is a series of blows that cannot be stopped once the first one's hit. For example, Nez can string a dashing attack and an aerial off of PK Fire, and Diddy Kong can do a whole bunch of nonsense off his down throw. After that, you should look for some mix-ups. Mix-ups are setups where you know all of your opponent's options. Make one attack seem desirable, only to trick them into whiffing, and then start the gamble up again. Once you find your mix-ups, find some pressure strings. These are flurries of attacks that do not combo into each other, but put the pressure on the opponent to do something. Once they press a button, then you get into one of your mix-ups. Look for damage in unexpected places, and you'll surprise yourself with what you can do. Number 3. Find your character's mobility options. More important than damage is mobility. A common mistake people make with fighting games is thinking about how to get damage when they should be thinking about how to get to damage, and that's an important distinction. Getting in and out are important tools to get your character into a position where they can deal some damage. One of the best things you can do in a game with long recovery times like Smash 4 is tricking your opponent into throwing out a move early. By making them think you're close, but then retreating at the last moment, you can get them into a vulnerable place. Perfect pivots happen when you impart a turn while your character is still kicking up dust from an earlier dash. You can use this to blast towards an opponent to bait out an attack, only to pivot away at the very last moment. Now that they are vulnerable, dash back in to deal some damage. It's very tricky, but if you were to master this technique, you'd definitely be able to outplay the average Smash player. Number 2. If you look back at all the different entries into the Smash series, you'll see that there are a ton of differences between all the 5 or 6 versions of the game. But there's one universal tool that will always serve to improve your technique. If you want to survive, you gotta learn how to slide. Melee had wave dashing, which redefined everything, and even in Brawl there were tons of techniques put together to get your character sliding across the screen. I mean, when you think about it, it really does make sense. If you're sliding around, you're basically gaining ground without committing to any of the movement animations. Now I know that this video is about Smash 4, and if I just told you to slide without giving you any information on how to actually perform the technique, it wouldn't be very helpful. But since sliding is usually the result of manipulating forces applied to your character's movement and not actually by any input that is universal between all characters, it would be difficult for me to give any great advice on how to actually get your character moving. However, what I can do is give you a few quick examples of some techniques that involve sliding, and let you experiment with some ways to get your character moving around by yourself. Of course there's a slide everyone's familiar with, the sliding up smash. Since your character does not stop on a dime when dashing into the attack, you'll be able to charge the move while getting to a better position to launch your opponent. It's a fairly common technique, but I figured I'd mention it anyway. There's also the glide toss, or the jump cancel throw, which is a bit more advanced. If you can get your hands on an item, then you can trick the game into moving you forwards on the ground as you toss it. All you gotta do is hold forwards, then hit your jump button, and then instantly throw the object. It takes a little bit of practice, and if you're having trouble with it, you can always mess around with your controller. The technique is really powerful and can lead into some really nasty stuff. Even if you don't play as one of the 10 or so characters that can spawn items, it's a really helpful tool to know. It certainly makes the matchups more dynamic. There are other examples of sliding, but it's best to find those out on your own. If you have a move like Charizard's Rock Smash with strange momentum to it, then you should definitely see how you can abuse that. Number 1. Practice and adapt. The best way to improve at anything is to practice, but it's also important to realize that Smash isn't an RPG. You don't get any experience just by beating a bunch of weak enemies over and over. As you get better, you'll need to find someone better than you, and then work on trying to take them down. You have to actually get into your opponent's head. When you get hit, you should think about what went wrong. This technique works at every level of play. I have a friend who likes to play Ike. He isn't the best at the game yet, but I realized I kept getting hit by this one move he would always pull. He would charge Ike's side special from full screen and just sit there. In order to block it, I'd throw up my shield, but he'd just sit there. We sat there as my shield got smaller and smaller. Ike can't cancel out of that move, so I was just waiting for him to throw it out. Eventually, I figured if he was just gonna sit there, I better do something to punish it. So I drop my shield and he hits me. It's such a stupid way to get hit, but after eating the same move over and over again, I figured I'd need to adjust something. So now that I noticed the problem, I had to find an answer. The next time I noticed him charge the move, I threw up my shield. We were in the same situation. Now I pump the R button. He sees my shield drop and charges in. By the time he saw it go down, I had put it back up, so the attack was blocked, and I could continue to beat on him. You see, when you keep getting hit by the same stuff, you have to find an answer to the attack, or you'll never improve at the game. That example is a bit of a lesser mind game though, so let's look at something more advanced. In Project M, I like to play as Snake. I'll stick this C3 onto the opponent and do the basic up throw combo to get my kills. When that doesn't work though, I'll use the dashing attack to hit opponents upwards. However, it's recently come to my attention that you can crouch cancel the dash. Normally this wouldn't be such a big deal, but against Jigglypuff it can lead into some pretty nasty stuff. So my friend realized that the dash attack was hitting a bit too often and decided to punish it with this technical masterpiece here. Look for tells in your opponent's playstyle, and in addition to that, look for tells in your own playstyle and mix those up. I know that I have a bad habit of doing the same thing every time my opponent responds. I jump towards them and counter. I do this to trick them into wasting their invincibility frames, but since I do this every time they respond, I make myself super predictable. All my opponent has to do is recognize the problem and then punish it the next time they see it. The best tip I can give you to improve at Smash is to watch your own matches. Watch how you play and watch how your opponent plays. Figure out why your opponent's punches land and adapt to make sure that they can't do that again. Thanks for watching. It's awesome to finally get this video out after the first one was so successful. If you want to hear me talk even more about Smash, then you can check this video out here where I talk about some controversy around the rage mechanic. I talk about the pros and cons of the addition of the mechanic and how I think it affects the game as a whole. If you want something else though, you can check out this video here I did on Mario Sunshine. I really like how I put this video together and I think I might make another one like it pretty soon here. I use some of the game's lesser known mobility functions to talk about how mobility works in games as a whole. If you're not into that though, you can also check out this video I did here on The Legend of Zelda and silent protagonists. Well, it's not really about Zelda, or even silent protagonists either really. I just call it the Zelda video because the 4 narrative archetypes of gaming protagonists rolls off the tongue like a cube. Yeah, alright, I'm done. Quick thing. Thanks.